Sierra had 3 rules for surviving on Cathara IV. Never leave the perimeter fence after dark. Always check your equipment twice. And never, ever, trust the local fauna. She'd broken the 3rd rule exactly once, and now she couldn't stop smiling about it. The xenobiologist sat cross-legged in her research pod, scrolling through the audio files on her recovered voice recorder. Each timestamp told a story she hadn't been there to witness. Entry log. Day 47. Her own voice crackled through the speaker, documenting vocalizations of the Ketharan ridgestalkers near the eastern boundary. These apex predators show remarkable. Her voice cut off. There was a pause, then a wet snuffling sound, followed by what could only be described as aggressive chewing. Sierra laughed, advancing to the next file. Crunch, drag, thump, more chewing. Then a sound that made her sit up straighter, a juvenile chirp, high-pitched and curious. Not one voice, but 3. The cubs had found her recorder. She'd lost the device 2 weeks ago during a storm, assuming it was gone forever. The ridgestalkers were 6-limbed predators with obsidian scales and intelligence that bordered on unsettling. Adults stood twice as tall as a human, with serrated teeth and hunting strategies that suggested complex social structures. Their cubs, however, were apparently kleptomaniacs. Korik, her Zenthari research partner, ducked through the pod entrance. His chitinous plates gleamed amber in the artificial light, and his compound eyes fixed on her with what she'd learned to recognize as concern. "You are listening to the device again," he observed, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into flat, emotionless standard. This behavior suggests attachment to material objects. Very human. "Oh, listen to this," Sarah insisted, ignoring the jab. She played the next file, a low growl, distinctly adolescent. Then another cub responding, followed by a series of playful snarls. The sounds of wrestling. The recorder, tumbling across rocks. "They're playing with it," Korik said, tilting his head in that particular way that meant he was genuinely intrigued. "Keep listening." The next file started with silence. Then, clear as starlight, a cub made a sound that was unmistakably an attempt at mimicry. Not a growl or a chirp, but something else. A word. Heh, heh. Sarah grinned at Korik's sudden stillness. The cub tried again. "Oh, impossible," Korik breathed. "The Ketharan vocal structure cannot—" "Hello," the cub said, tinny through the recorder's speaker. Imperfect, slightly slurred, but unmistakable. "Hello. Hello." The other cubs joined in. A cacophony of attempted human speech interspersed with their natural vocalizations. They were laughing, Sarah realized. Or whatever the Catharan equivalent was. They were having fun. "How?" Korik demanded. "This species has no interaction with humans, no exposure to your language. We have been here only 3 months. Sarah pulled up her field notes, her fingers flying across the haptic display. "I've been recording observations near their den for 6 weeks. Playing back my notes every night. I thought I was being careful, staying hidden, but they were listening," Korik finished. "Studying you, while you studied them." The implications settled over them both. First contact protocols demanded caution, non-interference. The Galactic Council had strict guidelines about exposing pre-spaceflight species to external influences, but this wasn't interference. This was reciprocal curiosity. "There's more," Sarah said quietly. She advanced to the latest file, recorded just hours before Korik had found the device abandoned near the den entrance, carefully placed on a flat rock where it would be found. Static. Breathing definitely not human. Then a voice, deeper than the cubs, measured and deliberate. "Hello." The adult ridgestalker's voice was perfectly clear. "We return your listening stone. Hello, Skywalker Sierra. Ender." Her own name. They'd heard her introducing herself in her logs. They knew. Coric's plates rattled, a sign of agitation. The council must be informed. This changes everything. This species is not merely sentient, they are actively engaging with off-world intelligence. They are scared? Sira interrupted softly. Imagine being them. Coric. Strange beings descend from the sky, set up camp, point strange devices at you and your children, but instead of attacking or fleeing, she played the file again. That careful pronunciation, the trust, implicit in returning her device, the risk they'd taken. Humans, Coric said. And this time his translator captured something like exasperation. You find kinship everywhere. You look at predators and see. What? Potential friends? Sarah stood, moving to the pod's viewport. Outside, Cathara's twin moons painted the landscape in silver and violet. Somewhere in those ridgelands, a family of apex predators was teaching their young to say hello. I see beings capable of curiosity, she said. Capable of learning. Of choosing communication over conflict. That's not human. That's just rare and precious. Coric was silent for a long moment. Finally, his translator clicked on. What will you tell the council? Sira pulled up her official report form, her fingers hovering over the keys. First contact with sentient species. The forms and protocols would take months. There would be oversight, restrictions, possibly reassignment, or she could submit her standard weekly report. Note the interesting vocalization patterns in the local fauna. Mention nothing about returned equipment or attempted speech. Give the ridge stalkers time. Let them choose when and how to reveal themselves. I'll tell them the truth, Sarah said finally. That we've detected complex vocalizations, suggesting higher than expected intelligence. That further study is warranted. That we should proceed with respect and patience. Very diplomatic. Very human. Coric's mandibles clicked in. What she'd learned was amusement. You are protecting them. I'm giving them agency, Sarah corrected. Something humans didn't always get when we were the ones being studied. She saved the audio files, encrypted them, backed them up twice. Evidence, if it was ever needed. Proof that intelligence took countless forms, that communication could bridge species that had evolved light years apart. Her recorder sat on the desk, scuffed and scarred but functional. Tomorrow, she'd place it back near the den with a new recording. Not observations. Not data. Just a story. Something for curious minds to puzzle over, whether they had scales or skin, fangs or flat teeth. Outside, something howled in the Ketharan night. Another voice answered, and if Sarah's translator wasn't malfunctioning, one of those voices said something that sounded suspiciously like, "Good night." She smiled, pulled out a fresh recording chip, and began to speak. Hello, friends. Let me tell you about a place called Earth.